look at that image and the dinosaur one and all this other stuff, and you've developed in a pretty short space of time, really. I mean, as a 50-year-old person.
12 years. Yeah.
Well, no, yeah, all right, okay, it's all relative, but that's a massive leap from coming from nothing and working in an office and having done this art degree where you didn't know work at all to having this quite incredible style. How does that journey happen? What?
I mean, I don't see that journey. I still see everything that I do as a slight progression from the last one. So it's kind of, I'm incredibly fortunate to be able to be in a position where I'm allowed to do that and make a living from doing it, which is, it still completely amazes me on a daily basis. But there was never, I don't think I ever really had sort of I never had any sort of goals, I guess. I think there's quite a lot of people that I speak to, certainly when I'm doing any kind of teaching on sort of illustration and sort of graphic arts courses, where like, how do I do that? How do I? It's like, no, I don't know. Yeah. Or you just sit in a dark room and draw pictures for 12 years, and then if luck sees fit, then you'll eventually get a client base that pays you to do it.
But it's not luck. I mean, look, I look around.
I think it's luck. There's a lot of luck involved.
Well, yeah, there's a bit of luck, because I have this impression that on your list of clients, there's some really big names up there. There's some corporate names.
Yeah.
I have an impression that maybe not so comfortable with the corporate names, but they serve a purpose.
I'd happily sell out tomorrow and just work for corporate clients who pay me huge amounts of money. I don't care, but they don't. But what I do love doing is working for. I love working for small brands, and I love working with bands that I really love.
Is that sustainable? Because you're incredibly. So I have to tell this story about 3 years ago. We did an. I know it's really well. It's the lights. Sorry. We did a charitable an art auction here, and I asked Andy and Becky, who are over there, who run a shop called Colours May Vary over the road over there, if they knew anybody who would give us some stuff for free that we could raffle off, so that we could auction off. We made loads of money, but you gave us loads and loads. So you had this massive charity.
I've got a lot of shit to give away.
Okay, but that's an amazing. Is it how sustainable is it doing those things with smaller artists, the smaller bands? And
it's not. Well, it's not sustainable in itself. But it's kind of like certainly I started making gig posters, and I still love making gig posters. It is like the best part of the job, but it doesn't always pay the bills. So you kind of do client work that allows you to kind of do that side of it as a bit of a hobby almost. It's kind of, and so you will come across bands who they don't have any money to pay you, and it's kind of like, that's fine, but I love the work you do, so it'd be nice to work together. And you can't make a living from doing that, but it can act as a sideline to doing everything else that comes with this job.
Who are the bands you've really loved doing?
Well, I've done I did a number of things for a band called Martha last year or the year before, I can't remember. Anyway, but they are one of my favourite bands from the UK, certainly, that I've heard in years. I just absolutely love them. But I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. It's just kind of, I mean, there's people that you're friends with whose bands play and you like them as well. So like, why would you not make them a T-shirt? If they needed a T-shirt, they're going on tour. It's like, I'm not gonna charge you the same price that I charge someone else. It's kind of like, yeah, we're pals. We'll do this.
Yeah.
Equally so, I know full well that's devaluing everything I've ever done. So it's a fine line.
Do you think that's true though? Do you think doing that sort of thing does devalue what you do? Because I don't know what it is, man. Every time I turn around somewhere in Leeds, I see a piece of art by you, whether it's on some kind of branding or whether it's, no, I love it. No, I love it, but it's omnipresent. But I love that because you're kind of omnipresent in Leeds.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about anywhere else because I live in Barnsley. It's definitely none in Barnsley.
I've not tapped
Have you
the
done
Barnsley. No, the Barnsley market is not biting at the moment.
I've got a project for you.
Yeah.
So there's a gentleman over here who's put his hand up
I
and.
was just going to ask, is that going to happen in America as well? Are you moving into the craft beer scene with the Dogfish Head stuff?
Not that.
We saw
You
some
see,
of it when we were in
yeah.
Bali a while ago.
Well, the weird thing is, like, up until maybe, I would say the last 2 years, I've done a lot of work for people in Leeds. But I've been doing, I mean, the previous 10 years before that, pretty much my entire client base was in the US.
I've
It was
seen
just,
some people wearing health t-shirts in America as well. That's kind of funny.
yeah, it was all, most of the work always came from America.
Why was that? Have they just got a different?
No idea. I think they were the first. When I first started doing it, I had there's a guy called Mitch Putnam who he now works with Mondo, who do like the film posts and all that sort of stuff. And he sort of very kindly decided to publish some of my prints. So pretty much most of the stuff that I was doing was being printed in America and distributed there. And he'd organise sort of like gig poster series for different artists. So I was making gig posters, but they were for gigs in Arkansas and everywhere, like places I've never been and will never ever go.
Yeah.
But that built up, I guess, not a following, but people were aware of my work in America. I think perhaps a lot more than they were here. And I mean, you kind of meet people and they're like, "Oh, you're from the UK?" It's like, "Yeah, I'm from Leeds." It's like, "Well, I thought you were from America somewhere."
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's just it comes from the internet, being able to sort of sell your work and show your work everywhere.
And in terms of the look that you were talking about earlier on with Mitt, you know, was that look getting picked up by a guy who could introduce your work?
Yeah, completely. Yeah, I mean, I think at that time, there certainly weren't that many people making sort of screen printed gig posters in the UK. So there was a small handful of us. And eventually, sort of, as time went on, you realise that there were other people around, and it ended up becoming a bit more of a scene. There's people that I've made lifelong friends with who started sort of around a similar time, but it was the case that there wasn't the market for it. I mean, I think when we initially started doing it, you were trying to sell a poster, like a screen printed poster at the Broodnell for a band, and you were like, "Oh, it's £5," and people were just like, "Fuck that." Yeah. It's like, "Oh, right, okay, fair enough then. Have it for free then." It was that sort of point of people not understanding what no one understood what screen printing was. I think on a very, very basic level, it's kind of it's an archaic kind of way of reproducing work. So it's like, why would anyone know?
Well, I only found out from Tom Smith at MAP. We do these events for a Leeds-based charity called MAP. Charlie, one of the founders and trustees, is up there. Hello, mate. Tom told me that you actually helped him set up the screen printing things. I was like, "Oh, we got Drew Millward." And do you know him? He's like, "No, yeah, he set up the screen printing thing for us."
Badly. because I was a really shit screen printer.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, it was terrible. But yeah, it's been, it's just been, a long time doing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It was, I was so shit at actually printing that it was worth me getting someone else to do it for me because it was going downhill.
So you had this lucky break with this guy Mitch, and it was pure luck. It wasn't anything to do with the work. So I'm going down the therapy route now a little bit. So I am a registered and qualified psychotherapist.
Without air conditioning.
Without air conditioning, yeah. So it's getting hotter and hotter. So you had this bit of luck. Has there actually ever been any kind of plan to to what you? I mean, are you more career minded now than you were back then, or
No.
no? So there's still no plan.
No. Absolutely none. I don't know. I don't know how I've got to this point, and I certainly don't know how I'm going to progress any further. I just assume that no one's ever going to ask me to do anything ever again on a daily basis. And that really keeps me on my toes, I find.
Well, it must be quite anxiety-inducing, that that old thing of never knowing where the.
Yeah, maybe
I've
it
got
is.
your wife looking at me now, and I'm thinking, like, oh God, where's this going to go?
She knows. She's got to deal with it. It is. It's it's not particularly conducive to a massively positive mental state all the time.
Well, you said in an interview, the one and only interview that I've read, that a couple of years ago things were not great. You said in the interview. Are we okay to talk about that? Should we do it?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
So, how do you, when things are not great, how do you get yourself? How do you bring yourself out of things not being really that great?
It's incredibly difficult. I think over the past couple of years I've realised how involved the process of making work and mental health really are. And if I'm not making work, then things go to shit. But equally so, it's weird. It's not. I think there's so much of the work that I make that's kind of involved with sort of escapism, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, well, that's what I take from it. From the work,
I think there was, and I find it is therapeutic. I think it's quite important to be able to do that, and I think it's important for everyone to be creative in some kind of capacity. But I think you kind of take these kind of dives and things. It's never been to the point where it's been dreadful. It's just kind of, you do realise that, you kind of, mentally you kind of take dips and dives every so often.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's never been, I think I've perhaps always been in that kind of field.
Yeah. I work as a therapist, and I've been doing my annual report for the year and looking at other universities. So I work in a university setting, and it's really interesting to look. And I work in a very creative area, so I work in a music area. But looking at the stats from other universities who've shared information, the predominance in where the people who are accessing the service, the courses that they come from, guess what? What's really high up there is social sciences and the arts and humanities.
Yeah.
What is it about us that?
So I think you spend a huge amount of time by yourself, and there is no answer at the end of it. There's no kind of right or wrong that you get to. You're constantly on that journey to try and work out what you're doing and try and find a voice in any kind of way. So I think it is difficult, and it's incredibly liberating and amazing to be able to do it. But I think it's difficult trying to talk to, or trying to explain to other people who do have jobs. It's like, oh, I'd fucking love to do what you do every day. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
sure you would.
Yeah.
You might not like it after maybe 6 months.
Yeah, yeah.
It's difficult. It's kind of like, it's not. I think people deal with it in different ways. I think I've kind of, over the last maybe sort of 18 months, 2 years, got a much more of a handle on it. I think. I think just before I did the Dust show last March, all that work came about from the fact that I basically just reached rock bottom. It was kind of like, I don't want to do this anymore. I've had enough. And it was a case of me making a body of work that I just wanted to make for myself more than anyone else. Not have to worry about clients, not have to worry about the sort of the expectation that comes along with that sort of thing. It was just kind of like, well, I'm going to make this. I'm going to make it really quick, and it doesn't make any difference. There's not a client there telling me, no, I think you need to change this, and this. It's kind of like, I've done that. That's it.
How long did it take you to make that body of work then?
It was about 3 months.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
so really fast.
It was a huge challenge for me because it was kind of like, I don't work that fast. So it was that I basically draw a line in the sand where Becky and Andy said, oh, you've got this day. It's like, yeah, all right, I'll do that. Fuck it, we'll have that. And it worked out, and it was great. I'm still happy with the work that I made then, even now. So it's it worked out a treat. I don't know what would have happened if it had gone the other way.
But maybe that's the look, the look that we make for ourselves when
exactly.
when we enter
Yeah,
into
yeah.
these things. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that with we don't talk. I mean, we talk about it a bit more now, mental health issues, but it's still for men particularly.
Yeah.
It's a touchy area.
It is, and I don't think it certainly shouldn't be. I think everyone gets down.
I know I do.
Not to make light of it and all that, but yeah, it's it's grim.
Yeah.